You have 24 hours. So did Leonardo da Vinci. So does Elon Musk. And so did every genius, artist, and visionary who ever walked this earth. Then why? Why does your day feel like it slips through your fingers like sand in a storm? Why do you wake up tired and go to bed feeling unfulfilled? Why does it feel like time is your enemy, always running, always rushing? What if the real problem isn't that you don't have enough time, but that you've never truly learned how to live on the 24 hours you already have? This is the message of a book written more than 100 years ago. And yet, in today's age of distraction, hustle, and burnout, it might be the most important lesson you ever hear. Welcome to How to Live on 24 Hours a Day by Arnold Bennett, a timeless call to reclaim your hours and your life. In a world overflowing with time management hacks, calendar tools, and productivity podcasts, we often forget something very human. You don't need more time. You need to learn how to use the time you already have, with care, clarity, and purpose. This audiobook isn't just a summary. It's a conversation. A warm, honest reflection on life's most overlooked treasure, your everyday hours. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming more by doing what matters. So sit back, take a deep breath, and allow this quiet wisdom to enter your noisy world. Arnold Bennett, a British novelist and philosopher from the early 1900s, lived during a time when factory jobs and rigid schedules were stealing people's personal lives. But instead of preaching rebellion, he asked a simple, striking question. You say you don't have time to live fully, but have you ever truly tried? He wasn't a productivity guru. He didn't sell 10-step programs. He observed life. He watched people rushing through their days like sleepwalkers. And he wrote this little book, barely 40 pages long, as a wake-up call. Not just to get more done, but to finally feel alive in the hours you already own. And that's where we begin. Right now, with you sitting here listening. You who maybe feels like your time is not your own. You who perhaps wakes up already overwhelmed. You who constantly wonders, where did my day go? Bennett believed the answer wasn't out there in some distant solution. It was right here, in how you view your ordinary 24 hours. Because once you change your relationship with time, you change your relationship with life itself. So let's explore with calm clarity the core message of this timeless book, and discover how you can begin today to live more fully on the same 24 hours you've always had. So here we are. You've paused for a moment, in a fast world, to reflect on something most people never stop to think about. Not as a clock on the wall, but as life itself, unfolding one quiet hour at a time. Arnold Bennett didn't ask you to manage time like a machine. He asked you to honor it like a sacred gift. He believed that your 24 hours are not just for making a living, but for making a life. Let that sink in. You already have enough time, you've just never claimed it. This is the soul of his message. You say you're busy. You say your schedule is full. But how many hours do you actually live? With awareness, with intention, with depth. You may work from 9 to 5. But what about the hours before work? The hours after dinner? The quiet moments you hand over to mindless scrolling or background noise? Bennett points out something radical for his time, and still revolutionary today. Most people don't suffer from a lack of time. They suffer from a lack of purpose in their time. And once you become conscious of that, you begin to see your life differently. He gave us the idea of the daily investment. Instead of surrendering your day to survival, you carved out just 90 minutes for your soul? Just an hour and a half. Not for chores, not for obligations, but for you. That's all Bennett asks. Use it to learn something new. Read deeply. Reflect, write, walk in thought. Feed your mind, stretch your imagination, listen to your inner self. You don't need a sabbatical. You just need a sacred slice of your daily life, reclaimed, protected, and lived intentionally. This isn't about hustling more. It's about waking up more. So what's stealing your time? Bennett challenges us to become honest observers of our daily routine. How often do you passively consume entertainment with no memory of it? How much time is lost in overthinking, worrying, or doing things you never truly chose? He's not judging. He's inviting you to reclaim your agency. Because once you become conscious of your invisible habits, you can begin reshaping them. Bennett urges us to do daily effort, not dramatic change. Bennett knew that change doesn't come through some grand New Year's resolution. It comes from daily discipline, from small, steady acts of honoring your time like it matters. It is not the large things that destroy us, but the many small things that we let slip. And so, his advice isn't overwhelming. It's gentle, it's doable, it's human. Just start with 90 minutes, even 60, or even 30. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. He says your time is your mirror. Bennett believed that how you spend your time is how you spend your life. If your time is scattered, anxious, distracted, so is your inner world. But when your time becomes focused, meaningful, soulful, you begin to feel alive again, more centered, much clearer, and unrushed. That's the promise of this little book. That's the power of changing your hours, from forgettable to fulfilling. So the question is, how do you begin? How do you gently but firmly reclaim your scattered time, especially in the early morning and late evening, when the world is quieter and your mind is still yours? In the next part of this journey, we'll explore the practical side of Bennett's wisdom. We'll dive into why mornings are sacred, how to create a soul ritual in your evenings, and how just 90 focused minutes can reshape your entire week. Because knowing the value of time is one thing, but living it day by day, hour by hour, is where the transformation begins. So, let's learn how to reclaim your hours, mornings and evenings. So now that you know the value of your 24 hours, now that you understand this isn't about chasing time but about honoring it, the next question is simple yet powerful. Where do you begin? And Arnold Bennett's answer is beautifully clear. You begin in the quiet corners of your day. You begin in the mornings and in the evenings, when the world hasn't fully arrived or has just begun to retreat. Because in these hours, you are closest to yourself, untouched by the noise, unclaimed by the world. Mornings, the hour before the world wakes up. Bennett believed that the morning holds a sacred opportunity, a chance to live deliberately before life starts pulling at you from all directions. He urged his readers to rise just a little earlier, not for work, not for chores, but for mental and spiritual nourishment. Don't jump into emails. Don't open the news. Don't scroll through your phone. Instead, create a quiet, intentional ritual. Read something that feeds your mind. Reflect in silence or write your thoughts. Walk slowly without hurry and listen to your inner dialogue. This isn't self-help fluff. This is the ancient rhythm of wise living, to begin the day by first grounding yourself. Even 30 minutes of such stillness can change how you meet the rest of the day. You don't have to wake at 5 a.m. You just have to wake with intention. Evenings, the hour before the day ends. Most people throw their evenings away. They come home exhausted, fall into the trap of passive entertainment, and lose themselves in hours that could have been the most meaningful part of their day. Bennett saw this pattern even in 1908. He wrote about how evenings became a mental graveyard, not because people were lazy but because they were unaware. But what if you used just a portion of your evening to reclaim yourself? Not for productivity, but for personal expansion. You could study something that inspires you, revisit your goals, journal, or simply sit with a book, undistracted, letting your mind grow still and deep again. This kind of time doesn't drain you. It restores you. Because you're not escaping your day, you're ending it with meaning. Why these hours matter. Bennett knew something vital. You don't need to change your whole schedule to change your life. You just need to consciously claim a few sacred hours. The early morning, the late evening. These are not empty hours. They are the hidden gold of your life. And when used with care, these hours remind you that you are more than your job, your tasks, your roles. You are a thinking, feeling, evolving human being. And your mind deserves more than just leftovers. He says, start small but start today. You don't need to redesign your entire lifestyle. Start with 30 minutes in the morning. Start with 30 minutes in the evening. Even one conscious hour, invested daily, can change your week, your mindset, your self-respect. Bennett said it best, the only way to live more fully is to stop waiting for more time and start living wisely within the time you already have. But of course, The most common excuse always returns. I want to do this, but I just don't have time. That's what most people say. That's what you may believe. In the next part, we'll gently dismantle this belief and explore how Bennett breaks the illusion of busyness. Because very often it's not time we lack. It's clarity, courage, and conscious choice. Let's go deeper into that next. Breaking the myth of "I don't have time." It's the excuse we all know too well. The one that sounds so reasonable, so justified, and yet silently robs us of our potential. I don't have time. Arnold Bennett didn't accept this as truth. He saw it as the greatest illusion of modern life. A comforting lie we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of conscious living. Because the truth is harder to face. We do have time. We've just never learned how to use it well. Bennett says time is not the problem. Awareness is. Bennett argued that the problem isn't the clock. The problem is awareness. We live each day as if we're passengers, drifting from task to task, from screen to screen, from obligation to obligation. And when someone asks, "Where did your day go?" we genuinely don't know. Not because we didn't have time, but because we weren't present in the time we had. This is why Bennett calls us to attention, not with blame but with clarity. You're not too busy. You're too unconscious. And when you finally become aware of your hours, you begin to reclaim them. Let's know where your time hides. Bennett invites you to do something radical. Observe yourself. Watch how your day flows. Notice the small, forgettable moments that add up to lost hours. That half hour scrolling your phone in bed. That 45-minute TV binge you didn't plan. That extra time overthinking what never even happens. These moments aren't evil. They're just invisible. And over time they steal your days quietly, without ever asking permission. If you could see your hours like coins, you'd be shocked at how much of your wealth is leaking away. Another trap Bennett warns about is the false promise of tomorrow. We convince ourselves that one day when life is less busy, when the kids are older, when work is lighter, then we'll focus, then we'll learn, then we'll live. But the truth? That day never comes. Because your relationship with time doesn't magically change with circumstances. It changes only when you do. So if you can't create 30 minutes for yourself today, you won't suddenly find an hour next year. Time doesn't appear. It has to be claimed. Bennett's genius was this. He didn't ask you to quit your job or move to the mountains or start a strict regime. He simply asked, what are you doing with the time between what you must do? Because real life, the kind that shapes your mind, your spirit, your sense of fulfillment, is often lived in the margins. In the hour before work. In the half hour before bed. In the moment between a task and a choice. It's there. It always has been. And it always will be, if you're willing to see it. This book isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. It's a gentle wake-up call. Not to do more, but to live more deliberately in what you're already doing. To stop waiting for life to begin. And to start living in the time you already own. Because this hour is your life. Not the future. Not someday. But now. So where does that leave us? We've explored how to reclaim our hours. How to break the illusion of busyness. And how to see time not as something we chase but as something we shape. In the final part of this audiobook, we'll reflect on what it means to live with meaning, not just motion. To go from surviving time to truly inhabiting it. Because the goal isn't just to manage your day. The goal is to feel fully alive within it. Let's end this journey with clarity and with purpose. Living with meaning, not just motion. So here we are, at the end of this short book. But perhaps at the beginning of a new kind of life. Because when you truly pause and reflect, you realize it was never about time management. It was about life awareness. And Arnold Bennett knew this. That's why his message has lasted over a century. He wasn't telling you to speed up. He was asking you to wake up. To stop measuring life in tasks and checklists, and start measuring it in moments of depth, clarity, and presence. Do you know what is the real purpose of time? Bennett didn't write for the overachievers. He wrote for the overwhelmed. For the ones who felt trapped in their own schedule. For those who woke up tired and fell asleep feeling they hadn't really lived that day. And to them, to us, he said, you cannot waste time without injuring eternity. Because your time is your only currency, and how you spend it becomes who you are. The real purpose of time is not to be filled. It is to be felt. Felt in the pages of a book you love. Felt in the stillness of your thoughts. Felt in a conversation that lights you up from within. Felt in the quiet joy of knowing you are not rushing through life, but inhabiting it with full presence. So how do you move forward? You don't need a new planner. You don't need to overhaul your routine. You just need to become the architect of your hours. To ask yourself each day, what hour can I reclaim for myself today? What matters more than noise and speed? What will I remember 5 years from now? The email I sent or the book I finished at sunrise? This isn't a race. It's a return. A return to simplicity, to presence, to you. And maybe the most beautiful truth of all is this. You don't need dramatic changes to change your life. You just need to notice the ordinary time and treat it as extraordinary. Because the life you want to live, the clarity, the creativity, the calm, it isn't waiting at the end of some perfect week or magical month. It's hiding in your next hour. That hour is yours, not your boss's, not your phone's, not the world's, but yours. So let this book be your quiet revolution. Not loud, not flashy, but real. Start waking up earlier, not to rush but to reconnect. End your day not in distraction but in intention. And in between, begin noticing your time like never before. Because once you honor your hours, you begin to honor your life. Arnold Bennett once said, "The chief beauty about time is that you cannot waste it in advance." And that means no matter what came before, no matter how many hours you've lost in the past, today is untouched, is still yours, and so is tomorrow, and the next. So go live, not just exist. Create, don't just consume. Be awake, not just busy, because in the end, you don't have to find more time. You just have to finally live on the 24 hours a day you already have. So, what have we really learned from this timeless little book? We've learned that time isn't just minutes ticking on a clock. It's the canvas of your entire life. And every hour, whether claimed or wasted, shapes who you become. Arnold Bennett showed us that the real crisis is not a shortage of time. It's a shortage of awareness. We're not living full lives because we're too busy. We're not living full lives because we've stopped noticing the hours slipping past us. But this book offers a gentle, powerful shift. We discovered that you already have enough time. That 90 minutes a day, carved with intention, can reshape your mind, your purpose, and your peace. That mornings and evenings are sacred, silent gifts, often ignored, yet full of possibility. That the belief, "I don't have time," is often just a habit of unconscious living. And that real change doesn't require grand plans, just small, steady acts of choosing presence over distraction. Most importantly, we've learned that our ordinary hours are not ordinary at all. They're waiting to be reclaimed, to be used, to be lived. And in doing so, we don't just make better schedules, we create better lives. And now, as we reach the end of this journey, let me leave you with this one thought. Your life is not someday. It is today. Not when you get a raise or retire. Not when things finally slow down. It's here, it's now. In these 24 hours you've been gifted. You don't need to chase more time. You just need to begin living with more presence in the time you already have. Arnold Bennett didn't write this book to make us feel guilty. He wrote it to help us wake up, to remind us that we are not powerless passengers in our schedule. We are the creators of how our hours are lived. So tomorrow when you wake up, don't rush, don't scroll, don't drift, and take back 1 hour, just one, to feed your soul, your mind, your life. Because when you do that, you're not just managing time, you're reclaiming your power. Thank you for listening. If this message touched something in you, if it reminded you of something you'd forgotten, share it, pass it on, and most of all, live it, because this is your life, and you've only got 24 hours a day. Make them count.